Hello and welcome to What the F Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, October 27th, 2021. Welcome to day 281. Joe Manchin criticized a proposed billionaire income tax to help pay for the social safety net and climate change bill, which is expected to cost around $1.75 trillion. Manchin called the plan convoluted and said that he didn't like targeting different people with higher taxes just because they're wealthy. Instead, he floated a 15% patriotic tax on corporations. The billionaire tax idea gained traction after Kyrsten Sinema blocked conventional tax rate increases for corporations and individuals. Sinema had reportedly supported the proposed tax on the 700 people in the United States who have more than $1 billion in assets. Together, Manchin and Sinema's objections have injected uncertainty into Biden's domestic agenda and cut in half what could have been a $3.5 trillion package over the course of 10 years. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats dropped paid family and medical leave from Biden's Build Back Better spending package. The plan initially included 12 weeks of paid family leave, which lawmakers later considered reducing to just 4 weeks in order to overcome opposition from Manchin, who said he didn't want to create new entitlement programs. When asked about the provision, Manchin replied, "I just can't do it." Plans to bolster Medicare and Medicaid benefits have also been scaled back due to opposition from Manchin and industry groups. Manchin has reportedly soured on Medicare vouchers to help cover annual dental costs. Moving on, Joe Biden once again refused to exert executive privilege over documents that Trump has tried to keep away from the congressional committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. White House counsel Dana Remus informed National Archivist David Ferrero that Biden, quote, has determined that an assertion of executive privilege is not in the best interests of the United States. Accordingly, President Biden does not uphold the former president's assertion of privilege, end quote. The National Archives is set to begin turning over the records to the House on November 12th. Trump previously tried to assert privilege on more than 40 documents and sued to attempt to block the House from accessing them. The committee is also expected to subpoena John Eastman, the lawyer who outlined a scheme for overturning the election results in 2 separate memos, which served as the basis for an Oval Office meeting on January 4th between Eastman, Trump, and Mike Pence. Recently, however, Eastman has claimed that he wrote the memos at the request of, quote, somebody in the legal team, end quote, whose name he could not recall. Separately, at least 5 former Trump administration staffers have voluntarily spoken with the House committee. In other news, the FDA's independent panel of vaccine experts voted to recommend that the agency issue an emergency use authorization for the Pfizer COVID-19 shot for children ages 5 to 11. The FDA is expected to grant emergency approval for the shots and then pass the issue to the CDC for review, which ultimately has the final say. Meanwhile, Deborah Birx, the White House COVID-19 response coordinator under Trump, testified that the Trump administration could have prevented more than 130,000 American deaths during the early stages of the pandemic. Birx told the subcommittee on the coronavirus crisis that the Trump administration had gotten, quote, somewhat complacent through the campaign season, end quote, and became distracted by the election and then ignored recommendations to curb the pandemic. Quote, I believe if we had fully implemented the mask mandates, the reduction in indoor dining, and we had increased testing, that we probably could have decreased fatalities into the 30% less to 40% less range, Birx said. When asked if Trump did everything he could to try to mitigate the spread of the virus and save lives during the pandemic, Birx responded no. She also criticized Scott Atlas, who joined the White House as a special government employee in August 2020 after appearances on Fox News, during which he decried fears about COVID-19 and advocated for some Americans to be deliberately infected with the virus in order to reach so-called herd immunity. Moving on, the United States issued its first passport with an X gender marker as part of an effort to implement gender-inclusive policies. The State Department said it expects to offer the X designation to more people early next year after it finishes system and form updates. The U.S. Special Diplomatic Envoy for LGBTQ rights said the decision brings government documents in line with the lived reality for non-binary, intersex, and gender nonconforming people. And finally, a Wisconsin judge ruled that the 3 men who Kyle Rittenhouse shot during a protest against police brutality are not to be called victims during the trial. Kenosha County Circuit Judge Bruce Schroeder said using the term to describe the men who were shot by Rittenhouse, including those two who died, as victims would be loaded with prejudice. Schroeder, however, did allow the men to be referred to as rioters, looters, or arsonists if the teenagers' defense team has evidence to support the characterizations. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Anditas.